I'll wait a moment. I am so glad to see so many of you returning to part two of Michael's marathon of madness on tackling what is really wrong with the music industry today. Now, I'm sorry I couldn't get back on at 7:30, but to be honest with you, it was good to get a bit of a break. My voice, you carry this on, as I've stated many times. Uh, I'm set up in a way I can't have folks up yet. All right, we're fighting to increase and improve what you see. As you can tell, my image is still flip flop. The only time it's correct is if I use a portion of this live stream as a video to share, as a pre recorded video. And then I have the option in my editing program to flip it, but I can't do that live. My first live stream, I'm doing exactly what I did in my first live stream, and it just started flipping me around. So, excuse me for that. It's like I said, we got off line, and I was talking to Kimberly, kind of walking around, stretching my legs, and I noticed my voice was hoarse, and you could probably tell a little bit, but it's better than it was. So I actually needed a moment or two. So I'm sorry I didn't get on at 7:30, like I said. But part of the reason was I would have been on despite that because I like to say, do what I tell you I'm going to do. But YouTube will only allow you to set, from my end anyway, and I, of course, set everything on my iPad. All right. And that'll explain a few things when I get into this, and then we'll get into the meat. I'm just giving some people time to get in as usual, right? So when you set your preset videos, which meant as soon as I got off here, I had to go and find an older card, and I'll change that after the live set. So for those who are just tuning in, maybe you didn't hear what we're doing. I'll catch you all up to speed, and of course you can go back and watch the first live stream, especially if you're interested in the details, really the devil in the details concerning Ticketmaster and Live Nation and what we covered. And I'm going to even start off with that subject on part two tonight, getting in, then skipping over to part three. Part two, of course, we covered what rockers have to say about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, right? And how their attitudes can change. If they feel like they have no hope of ever getting in, then they're free and clear. Now, not all of them, but some of them are just free and clear. We used Kiss as an example to throw trash at them. Well, it doesn't matter, right? And then we go further on, and we find out that they do get inducted in their tune changed, and we gave you some examples on that. So, as we get into part three tonight, we will be covering what rockers have to say about backing tracks and how all of these three parts tie in together. All right. So that's what we're going to be going over tonight. Now, as people are, kind of dribbling in here, because nobody expects me to be up and streaming at this time of night. This is a first for me, but I'm a man of my word, folks. I swear to God, I'm going to get to what I told you and promised you in the last stream. First of all, I want to say hi to Dawson, often a member on Royce's panel. All right. Shout out to you. He's also a moderator for this channel and a good friend of mine. And you want to hear some of he's the youngest member on our panel, folks. And as he's come along, he has really found his spot on that panel. In the last discussion, he brought up a very cool thing about, we were talking about Pink Floyd, and he brought up that, there are perhaps even better bands before Pink Floyd. And the example he used was, and he brought up, what was it, In Search of a Lost Chord. and he brought up the Moody Blues, who I have grand respect for. Also, I want to thank my brother Royce. All right, I already gave you a shout out in the first stream, but you know what? Royce is the brother channel to this channel. These channels are connected. I show up on Royce's stream, and he'd be up here with me tonight if I had the platform to do it. Okay, so Royce, I want you to know that, and I've said it before, but it's been a couple of weeks. And I appreciate you letting me be on the panel where we talked about Pink Floyd Sunday. If you haven't seen that video of Royce, you know it's still playing, folks. You know it's just not as live as it was on Sunday. But we got into a very long and varied discussion on that subject. And another shout out to Caitlin, the divine Miss Caitlin Stoddard. Uh, I was just over on Caitlin's stream earlier today. You know, I go over there as often as I can, you know, because her and James over there do a fantastic job. She often covers recent rock stories, things like that. Or she'll have a theme and they'll discuss, they just have fun. And it's just like a meat and potatoes kind of channel for me. I just love that. And that doesn't cut that channel down whatsoever because I'm a meat and potatoes kind of guy. When I'm over at Caitlin's stream, I just feel like I'm among family. A couple of you are even out there, and I bump into you folks right there on Caitlin's stream right there. So big shout out to Caitlin's Corner, and of course she's family. All right, folks. She I've known her practically as long as I've known Royce. You know, I've known Royce maybe a couple of months before Caitlin and I became aware of each other, right? So she goes way back. And of course, Oberheim was in early. Thank you so much for all you've done for this channel, Oberheim. And I, of course, made you a moderator. Now, Caitlin, I would have made you a moderator, but I see, here's the problem with me doing it on stream. That's why I encourage anybody who is contemplating the honor to moderate for this channel. And I will only make moderators for people that I have come to know either online or have known in person by sharing a panel with them or something like that at this point. And that's just to monitor for inappropriate comments that lead nowhere, any kind of trolling events, things like that. And I appreciate all of you people doing that. And Caitlin, by the time I knew you were in, I already switched. See, I'm shooting from my iPad. I'm using the front camera right there to shoot from my iPad. My sound is from a pair of earbuds, right? And this is how I stream. This is what I have available to me right now. So when I do that, my iPad is set to my channel. Well, the uh, this puppy right here, see, you can see me live right there. Well, almost live, right? That happened a few seconds ago. Sir, this iPad serves as me reading your comments, right? It's only about 3 seconds behind, and it's a good source, but it's Kimberly's iPad. She loans me her iPad as a secondary screen source so that it's easier for me to stream. Okay, so I can't get in and make you a moderator while I'm live on the air. So, yeah, folks, just show up early. And as I see you there, I made Oberheim a moderator because he was in early and I was still connected to the channel. Then I have to switch off and then go to the live stream, and I'm no longer in my domain while I'm live. You know, I'm watching you from Kimberly's account. Okay, so that explains all of that. I want to thank each and every one of you that are in here. James made it. Art Smolsky, they've gone country. Look at those boots. Let's see. Kimberly's in there chatting. Thank you, darling, and thank you for being my producer and my head moderator.
You're welcome, welcome.
I appreciate you, darling. I really do. Of course, I've already shouted out Royce. You know, if you subscribe to his channel, it's like subscribing here. As far as I'm concerned, he is of the tribe. He is a tribal chieftain and tribal member of this channel. All right. He financially supports this channel as I do his. Okay. And I love the brother. And when I say brother, man, this guy is my brother from another mother. Okay. Who else is out there? Just wanted to kind of get in touch with you guys right away. I've never done this. So, Dawson, I want to be a cowboy, baby. Oberheim, you'll be needing some Gatorade, Michael. You're absolutely right. I got myself one of these monster drinks. I like the imports. They're from Belgium, right? Oh, you didn't think I was that fancy, did you? They're expensive, uh, but they have a very dry taste compared to other energy drinks. So I love that, and they're not to keep me hydrated, mainly to keep me energized so that I can, continue to stream the inordinate amount of streams that I've done today. All right, two, but for a long time anyway. Okay, so that's to you, Oberheim. Let's see. I told him to, true. Okay. Oh, thanks for that. He's thanking me for making him a moderator, and you are more than welcome, brother. Edmond7, this is the first time I've seen you in the chat. Big hello, welcome. Subscribe to this thing if you're not, because I guarantee you, we're going to have fun. And hit the like button. I haven't been saying that in the last couple of streams. Now, a lot of you have been doing that, and I want to thank you so much. I really do. There are two lines of supporting this channel that won't cost you a cent, not a penny. All right. The first is to view my videos, whether it's streams or my regular pre recorded videos, which is kind of like the meat and potatoes of this channel. Now, they're taking a slight backseat only because I've been transitioning this channel since, well, late January. Okay. And bringing streams on and finding my place there. I'm still finding my place in the streaming community. So I don't know where I'm going or anything, but I'm feeling a purpose here, folks. And I've got a couple of ideas with what I want to do with the tribal forum. All right. And the stream before this today and this one kind of is leading into that line of thought. All right. James Redding, always good to see you, brother. Oh, you falling asleep, brother? He puts his Z. I'm sorry. We'll try and wake you up. That'll be my sole purpose, is to wake up James Redding. The poor lad. Someone give him a nudge. All right? Yeah, one of you moderators, give James a nudge. Art Schmolsky. They've gone country. Look at them boots. I'm not quite sure. Is that to an earlier comment, Art? Maybe it'll explain itself as we get going. Kimberly saying hi to you guys in her own wonderful way. James Redding, I've been looking for you. I saw that just before I got on. James, I'm glad you're here. Really, seriously. Thanks. I appreciate you, coming on. This is the latest stream I've ever done. All right. So we'll see how my energy gets going here. Of course, let's see. Yeah, James also said my phone will be charged by then. So, and I do know the majority of people watch me on their phones, right? But I do have a growing audience of people who watch me on their television, right, Richard? All right, let's see who else. Caitlin is talking. Royce, your 49ers gave my Broncos pretty decent defensive players. Uh, yeah. Okay, so okay. They're all talking sports there, which is fine. If you guys want to, pass on grandma's zucchini bread recipe, that's just fine with me. Let's see. Besides, we haven't really got cranking here yet, have we? You just hold on, because this will get good. All right. Of course, Brandon saying hi to Royce. Brandon's from down under, and we're from up and under, over. I don't know how to say that. I said it right last time, didn't I, babe? Yeah. There you go. Let's see. It's currently 1400, 2 o'clock p.m., huh? What a wonderful time. Sun's still out. All right. Summer, there it's getting near the end of summer, fallish. Is that right? Is that how the seasons work down in the southern hemisphere? Oberheim, let us know. Uh, I'm unsure of the time zone where you guys are. It is now 8:16 p.m. as I'm live anyway, in the evening, Brandon. When I started this stream, we're just now starting to get longer days. Okay. And so if you notice at the beginning of the first stream, that you'd see bits of light hitting my hair. That's because as I try to isolate the room and set up so that I can light it up properly. But uh, the sun was still out. It just went down not too. I think it was still kind of out because I went out and turned on our outdoor lighting and stuff. Uh, you could still play tennis. You couldn't see the sun, but that's about where we are in our time zone. Folks on the East Coast who are watching this, you can just add 3 hours. Yeah, so it'd be rather late. And if I am getting anybody on the East Coast, that's a major bonus. Those are the night owls, I'll tell you. And I know a few of you are out there. Let's see, Angela, it was good to see you in. I noticed you were in earlier before I started streaming. Angela, I think our connection was through Royce, of course, but she supported this channel right along. As she supports Royce's channel strongly. It's good to see you in the comments there. Who else do we have in? Oh boy, all the usual suspects. Dr. Rick, good to see you. Longtime supporter of both Royce and I. I think I inherited you mainly from Royce rather than the other way around. If I'm wrong, let me know, but that's how I remember it. But a big supporter of both channels. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Rick. Let's see. I've already said hi to James Redding. Headband by Brian Lundeen, YouTube. Uh, and that's your comment, YouTube. So I didn't get that. First time I think I've seen you in the comments, brother. Join the tribe. It's really easy. You just hit that subscribe to the tribe button and tap that top L icon, and you'll be notified of all my future videos. Okay, let's see. From Fresh, hi, Michael. What's the topic? Okay, so in a nutshell, we've been talking about some of the damaging things that are going on in rock and roll, which has been kind of a sub drive of my channel, probably shortly after I turned into a rock channel. I've been going at this a solid 3 years, dedicating a portion of my videos to uh, uh, taking a look at some of the things because rock and roll is not the predominant style of music anymore. Only a fool in denial would still say that rock and roll is still ruling the airwaves. It's not. It's doing real well on classic rock radio, and it gets new fans from younger folks all the time. So it's not totally dead. And there is a wisp of a hope that we could see some form of resurgence, if not to the point of where it was, but greater than it is today. And the only way for that hope to happen is if we as fans get uh, inf- informed, first of all, and absolutely let it be known and in the comments, not only on this channel, but other channels you visit, right? I openly invite you to bring up your concerns about some of the things that bother you because you would like to see rock and roll get at least one last heyday. It's happened in entertainment in many different forms. Okay, so that's not an impossibility. And I also stated in my first stream, it won't concern this channel because of the plethora of material that was recorded. Only the most insane of human beings own pretty much everything that came out in classic rock. And these people have basements with hallways of LPs or CDs, or maybe hallway. There are people who collect like that. I'm not, but I do collect. And that's part of a series of videos I'm offering as members only. That's for people who join the membership, where you become a tribal elder and a tribal or a tribal chieftain, depending on which level you join at. Okay, that's your decision on how you do it. I always get one video out a week for my tribal members that are members only. Okay, so that's the kind of where we started. Now, in the first stream, we covered, uh, and before we get on to part three, uh, which is the bulk of this stream, I want to go back to part one, only because first of all, I'll remind you what was happening. These are statements made by Kid Rock. Once again, this channel, if you're new to this stream but didn't see my old stream, I do have to make a disclaimer. I do not talk politics here, religion, and I say maybe some philosophy if it's got anything to do with classic rock. Okay, that's kind of me. All right. And so I hesitated even bringing up this story because it involves Kid Rock and Donald Trump. Now, I explained what was said, that Kid Rock was requesting Donald Trump to sign an order that existing laws now be carried out to the fullest extent of the law, because a lot of them are being purposefully ignored by people in power. All right. Now, it doesn't matter whether you like Trump, you hate Trump. I said this in the first stream. I don't care. You all have made up your minds on what you feel about the man. But here's where I want to just take him out of the equation. All right. We are at a point about what Kid Rock said. And Kid Rock is asking what I just explained, because the biggest example he gave was that he wants to get rid of bot buying, where bots are going in and buying whole blocks of tickets, then reselling them even winding up on Ticketmaster, who swears that the very reason they exist is for the sole purpose of supporting the artist, and then, of course, make a decent profit being in business, being the sole platform for which you can buy tickets from. All right. Now, Trump tried to get him to name a company that was involved in this bot scheme. You could tell Kid Rock didn't really want to mention them by name. Trump said that maybe they're not as bad as some people say, Trump. And Kid Rock then included Ticketmaster as being one of the culprits that are involved in this, even though Ticketmaster says that um, that they are actually set up to combat those bots, to combat scalping, even though, and you'd have to go back to the video because I'm not going to explain this too much, even though they are doing exactly that. And they have a monopoly on it. Go back to the first stream after you watch this one, and I go through it. I read from all of my research that I spent the last couple of days on. All right. So, but the reason I even bring that back up is one thing I did not get to do is, you see, if you go to my channel, and many of you have been involved in this, over to my posts, I've got a poll based on this story. And the basic poll question is this: Kid Rock has come out against Ticketmaster recently. Is Ticketmaster guilty of being legally empowered ticket scalper, or being a legally empowered ticket scalper? And I guess I would be the prosecutor in this case. I have given you in the first stream my presentation, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. So far, 832 of you have voted. Okay. And 87% of you, and my audience reaches from the left to the right, folks. 87% of you said this: yes, Ticketmaster has been ripping us off for far too long. Don't tell me people don't vote with their pocketbook in mind. Okay. And then coming in second place was I agree with both of the above statements. And of course, the other above statement was no, this is just a political move on his part. 3% of you voted for that this is just a political view. And I would suppose that you think his alignment with Trump and all of that and trying to pass a greater agenda. Okay, so understood, right? You're neither wrong nor right, but you're those who view that, at least who have responded so far, out of 832 of you, and the poll is still going on, folks. So you can get over there and register your vote. But at 10% saying, I agree with both the above statements. Now, if you add that to the 3%, because these guys feel ripped off, but they also agree with that no vote, 13% of you feel uh, that at least this is a political statement to a certain degree, at least. All right. So a good chunk of you thought that. Now, what I wanted to do to get started, and then we're going to talk about what rockers have to say about backing tracks, and then we're going to think about what we've been talking all about. All right, folks. Okay, so some of the comments on here. MetPack, is that it? Not Patch. Uh, Whether you're conservative, Kid Rock, liberal, Pearl Jam, or a broke fan, we can all agree Ticketmaster has ruined the market for fans and the artist. And this is the top comment made 22 hours ago. And you know what? Spot on. Right freaking on is all I can say to this statement. As a matter of fact, this statement was made, I wasn't even aware of it. If you look at my thumbnail, the two people I have on this thumbnail are Kid Rock and, of course, Eddie Vedder, all right, of Pearl Jam. And that's what I wanted to convey. You have some guy from the right and some guy from the left, and they both see a dragon needing slaying. So great comment. Kid Rock, conservative. Oh, that's the one I just read. Uh, oh no, it's just the same thing. Okay, JWD writes a whole lot of the same thing with a slight different opinion. Not opinion, but a different turn here. He says Kid Rock, conservative, and Pearl Jam, liberal, have both fought Ticketmaster, just like what the above comment had to say. It's not a political thing. And that I was hesitant because it involves political people here, right? To even bring this up. And I don't like to bring that type of stuff up on the channel. But we are at a point, and I think I made it clear in my last stream, that some sort of legislation, and I'm not big on legislation, legislation always costs me money, man. And but some sort of legislation needs to be passed because I'm not sure that even the existing laws that Kid Rock wants to follow uh, are strong enough, to be honest with you. This would be a semi hollow victory, even if they started. A lot more legislation is needed and a much deeper look into Ticketmaster and Live Nation in a congressional way needs to be looked at because, we as Americans here in the States have a right, to have as little corruption that we have to face in our lives, and Ticketmaster. I think I've made my case for Ticketmaster and Live Nation is pretty much two or one, depending on how you look at them. They're separate yet the same, a corrupt entity. All right. And I gave you a lot of facts and figures, and I want to thank you all for kind of sticking with me on that because I was worried that slowed the stream down, a little bit. And maybe it did. Maybe I would have had a grander audience if I had just sat here and talked about super exciting stuff. I don't know. I'll have to go back and look and review and see what was going on. All right. But here's another one. A lot of these people don't like Kid Rock because of his political views. I don't like Kid Rock's music, but agree with what he's saying. And that comes from Michael Mathis. From Case Against Faith 1, the adage about a broken clock being right twice a day comes to mind. Oh, God. All right. Case Against Faith. Case Against Faith. That sounds like something I'd say. It really does. Right. And then he follows that up with not sure why. Yeah. Broken clock being absolutely accurate twice a day has to be. All right. I don't care. Music Clover. I don't care for his music or his politics, but he has been a staunch advocate for fair ticketing prices throughout his career. So here's somebody who doesn't lean his way. And you know what? This is what I mean. This is what I want to do with this channel. A tribe of like minded people concerned about one portion of their lives who yet all have different political, religious, spiritual, and philosophical viewpoints. But uh, to be able to discuss it amongst ourselves, that's civilization to me. And that's very, the word tribe is so misused these days. When I use it, that's exactly what I mean by a tribe. Different individuals with different interests, yet we have this one common thing. We love classic rock. All right, we're all great fans of classic rock. I got another one here. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. This one, Pop Culture says, I was looking at my ticket stub collection from back in the 80s, Iron Maiden, Wasp, Metallica, Bon Jovi, etc. £5 to £10 each. A teenager like me could buy them with his pocket money. Now, not at all. And of course, Pop Culture is no longer a teenager. If he was buying that, he's well into his 50s, if not 60s. You damn right. And you're probably worth more money now, most of us are, than we were when we were, teenagers. And you know what? I agree with you. I went to concerts on, well, pocket money. For me, pocket money, I had to work for it, but not insanely. I've been working full time at something with a social security number since I was 14 years old, folks. So I know work, I know how to work. I've been working all my life, right? And you get to a point where you're worth more than you were at that point, and you can't even afford one concert a year for many older fans, let alone seven or eight or nine or 10 like you did back in your 30s, 20s, and teens a year, and some of you even more than that. And a kudos, I'm thinking of Vance from Zep Earl, who, he's no spring chicken. He's not my age. He's a generation younger there, or a decade or two younger, or at least he looks it. Uh, he's still active on the concert stage, and I live vicariously through his concert when he shares portions of that and everything. Great channel. Always supported this channel. You ought to check him out. Vance from Zep Earl. All right. Alejandro Elias? Alejandro Elias. Two first names. Yes, indeed, Mr. Noland. I agree with you on both of your statements. However, what are you going to do about it? Perhaps take a stand and not enjoy and experience the joy of live music, or just whine about the truth and matter of fact the way that we all live in corporate BS world, like it or not. Okay, so let's take that. I got a challenge, folks. All right. And you know what? There's a lot Alejandro here says is absolutely true. But let's take a look at this. Yeah. He first of all, he agrees with my statements here, both statements here. He's taken a stand and is, Ticketmaster, whatever. But he says, what are you going to do about it? Well, I think I've explained what I'm going to do about it. I I I uh, I put forward a certain amount of my energy on my channel, talking about these things, Alejandro. All right, it is a bit of a crusade for me. All right, I don't see my opponents as windmills; they are dragons. So I'm on a crusade already, putting my own time and energy into this because it bothers me. Now, why does it bother me? I'm a musician from way back. I'm a singer songwriter from way back. All right. I'm an engineer. I've recorded my own music. I know a lot of the tricks of the trade. I was in bands from the time I was 14 years old until, well, the last time I was in a band was 2011, Area 51. And long story, it was a duo, right? Which was an offshoot of my former band, No Man's Land. So that was 2011. I haven't done anything since then. I never decided to retire, just never connected. Life happened, some things happened, prevented me from doing that. Otherwise, I'd probably still be playing live. I don't know. I'm dumb. I never know when I'm licked. All right. So it does concern me, right? And I may decide tomorrow, shut this channel down and get out on the road. I make thou no promises, you know, but no, I feel comfortable where I am. To be an advocate for the art form that has fed me in so many ways, sometimes literally feeding me. All right. So it does bother me. So here's my stand. Now, he says, or just whine about the truth and fact of the matter that we all live in. Well, it starts off, I don't think I'm whining when I supply specific information and I ask for other people to challenge my beliefs, write in the comments. I'm not the big jello sheriff here. I've said that before, right? I'm first speaker, right? That's how I'm out amongst a table of equals. Every single one of you are my equal. The only privilege I have is I speak first. All right. I give you my opinion because it has to work that way in order to run a YouTube channel. I can't go to the future and grab your responses and somehow make that into a video and then give my response. That's impossible, right? So there has to be a first speaker, and that's me. I give my opinion, but I'm open to anybody else's opinion. So that's my reply to you, Alejandro. James Nash says Kid Rock and Eddie and Fleetwood Mac and Sir Paul, everyone who appears at a stadium, coliseum, hockey arena, etc., is working for Ticketmaster. They are not, of course, private contractors who have rented the building and oh, this is perfect, concessions and the security, etc., etc. Absolutely right. And I covered this exact thing, and this is from 8 hours ago. All right. So this was slightly before I did my first stream, I would imagine. So this guy's dead on. James, you're really dead on with your comment here. Their agent has made a deal, yes, with Ticketmaster to cover a tour, to promote it and sell tickets. The talent works for the building owner, operator, and the ticket sellers and receives a cut of the proceeds, not the other way around. And the building owner and all of that are paying up to Live Nation, who is the true building owner. Many, many times they have ownership of the majority of live arenas or venues in the world today. They are the largest owner of that. And guess what? They just so happen to be best buddies with Ticketmaster, who has a monopoly as being pretty much the only true uh, ticket selling platform because they've locked out all of the other competition. And I brought that up in the last stream as well. Let's see. Just take a couple more of these and then we'll get on to what we're talking about.
Uh, Michael Pond, Ticket Bastard, has been ripping off both the public and the artist for decades. This is needed reform. Just like the freaking Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which was part two, where we talked about how it has done its fair share of harm to the art form rock and roll, classic rock and roll, as has Ticketmaster and Live Nation. All right. And we're going to be talking about another enemy here in a moment. So, a great um, comment there. I agree. This is from Tanner Hemmingson. Tanner is a guy who comments a whole lot on this channel. So, hi, Tanner. I agree that Ticketmaster is ripping us off and that it needs to be dealt with properly. But I also think that Kid Rock is the worst person to tackle the issue. He has a long history of being a total moron. Okay, all right. Uh, I have not been a fan of Kid Rock. Like I said in the last video, I have heard a couple of things of his that was interesting, but not a fan at all. Was quite aware of him, how he promoted himself through magazines primarily back in the day, and used whatever media was at his disposal. And so he's a very smart man. He's built himself quite the little empire. But I also brought out that he says he is the most overpaid, one of the most overpaid performers or people in the world, and that he would love to bring his ticket prices down, but that wouldn't stop the monster. And of course, I brought up what that's the monster's here either way. How about standing up and setting a good example and dropping your prices anyway? You know, you're the one that says you're overpaid. So you're not going to be losing anything because you know you're overpaid. So you might as well be paid what you are. And now you can be a good rocker in good standing with me. If he made that move, I'd have no problem with him. Right? I'm glad he's concerned about the things that he's concerned about. But you know what? Back it up. Back it up by your own bucks. You vote your pocket, Kid Rock. To us. You vote your pocket, right? You put your bottom dollar down. Now for us, whether that helps us or not, you can then say, well, I tried, brother, right? And my estimation of you will go way up at that point. All right, so Brandon, 1351, often one of the first commenters. He's over here on the poll. He says, "Do you think there is a correlation between the drop in record sales and ticket prices increases? Not a business expert, but wasn't it that record sales would drive the band, and the tour was just a way to promote the newest release? Just some food for thought. Have a good one, Michael and Brandon." What a great freaking comment. Yes, most bands would make most of their money. They got seriously uh, supplemented by touring. So it wasn't just to promote the next record, but they would do that. Remember, a band came out. I watched Queen. Queen 2 had just come out. That was the first time I saw them, right? Then they did what was it? Sheer Heart Attack, right? They weren't touring at a time I could go see them, and then they put out a Day at the Races, or not a Day at the Races, a Night at the Opera. Day of the Races followed. Not quite as good an album, but vastly underrated. But anyway, and the next time, as soon as that came out, they were out promoting that album, right? Went and saw them. I mentioned this in the video or the stream before earlier today that I saw them in a really nice venue and it was wonderful. And they were promoting, they played the whole album. Not that they didn't play other highlights from past albums, but now when you go and see a band, what do? They play maybe. Here's Paul McCartney is an excellent example of this. You know, it used to be that he put out an album and he toured that album and then the better parts of the other album. And for example, Band on the Run was this huge success. Venus and Mars, not quite the success, but still extremely successful. And in my opinion, every bit as good as Band on the Run, right? But he toured. Now, of course, at this point, he had to cover the highlights from Band on the Run. But we didn't get everything from Band on the Run because he was covering the vast bulk of uh, Venus and Mars by the time he got there. And of course, weeks before, Wings Over America started, they put out Speed Us Out, right? And of course, he took the hits for the most part off of that album. That was the first time where he had an album out that he played the highlights. But you also could understand that with the humongous amount of material on Band on the Run and Venus and Mars to make room, and he still had to cover things like, Maybe I'm Amazed from his first album. He had to, cover, what was it, 5 Beatle songs, get those in there, right? And pay homage to what he had done in the past. And he could have just played, back to back Band on the Run and Venus and Mars, and that would have been a show to remember. And it practically was that anyway. All right. So, yeah, when you say drop of record sales, of course, and that started with Napster and the illegal downloading of files, in my opinion. Never was a fan of it, never illegally downloaded a file in my life. It's something that I do not believe in. I believe that the artist needs to be paid for what they do. Now, keep that in mind when we get into part 3 here. Paid for what they do. All right? So I have no problem with bands making a profit, but it has to be a profit well earned. And there's certain things that I expect that they do to earn a profit from me. All right? I don't want to have to pay an arm and a leg to go see them. I don't want to be preached down to when I do go see them. You know, I'm pretty much set in my ways. Yeah, I'm still learning. I could still change my mind on a couple of things in my life, but I'm set in my ways. I don't need a rock star telling me how to think, right? Uh, Kind of like to have them play what they're actually pretending to play, and that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. I don't want to go see them lip sync or pretend they're playing a guitar solo. Who would be interested in that? A younger audience would be, and I've talked about that. They're not as educated as a more sophisticated audience, and that's why many bands have turned their backs on their original fan base because their original fan base knows better, and the uninformed fan base pays better. Okay, so all of that. When I go see, I would like to hear some new music. How about that? That would be nice when I go out and I've paid my hard earned dollars to go see this massive success of a human being or group of human beings uh, play before me and me able to actually feel like I've seen them because I have, right? But I'm not interested in going to see a band that has 4 replacement members and a drummer that's in and out all the time, and it's being controlled by a former bass player that got fired earlier. And of course, I'm talking about the Guess Who. Didn't want to go see them, right? So I kind of like that, right? So there's some things that I feel that need to change in rock and roll. And I don't think I'm asking that much. I'm willing to pay your money as long as it's not too much, but a reasonable price. And I expect you to give me a good performance of new material, and it's an actual live performance. You're not hiding behind tapes. And then that leads us right in to this next part. So thank you all for your comments. I'm sorry, there's like already 44 comments in there. I'd spend the bulk of this stream reading that, uh, uh, and we'd never get to part three, which is where I want to go next, of course. We're talking about what different rock artists feel, or say they feel, I should say. All right. If you really want to get down to it, because some of these artists, by their very statements and what's included in some of these paragraphs, you're going to find out like what they say about the rock and roll. And that's why I grouped this these three stories together today. All right, is they say one thing until, right? They say one thing. Now, what am I talking about using backing tracks? All right, so for you who have not been following my channel for very long, when I say a backing track, I'm talking about tape loops on these days, usually found on laptops, and they've got everything's been pre-mixed. I'll give you an example. The band comes out, they're a five-piece band, they got two guitars, or a guitar and a keyboard, drummer, bass player, and a lead singer. All right? Boom, classic lineup, right? But their records, they're known to be this progressive kind of band, and they have lots of orchestras on their records, and or they have a ton of guest musicians who will play. Steely Dan comes to mind, right? Okay, there's an example, you know. And so all of this is, I want a live performance. I don't want what I don't want is pre-recorded. Uh, I don't want to say synthesizer because I'm going to give you. There are some places where I think backing tracks are fine. And which one of you was it? It was one of you young ladies out there that brought up on the Sunday stream that often click tracks are used. Not only, and I didn't really acknowledge this portion. I did acknowledge when you said to connect with lighting, and I said that's fine. But you also said, and I just missed it, and then I reread it. I wanted to bring it up tonight about it. Also, is geared. The click track is geared toward the mix board, and so you see these faders going up and down when you get out to the mixing board. That where you have about a third of the audience in front of you. Usually, right about there, you have your mixing board, right? That's the sweet spot, and they mix it for the whole auditorium, which include the people behind them and all around them, all the way to the rafters, right? I have no trouble with that. Okay, so click tracks, when used as robotic devices enslaved to the will of the artist, is fine with me. Just got to keep them a slave. No emancipation of AI or anything related to AI. It must always remain mankind's slave, or we are doomed as a species. And I've talked about that in past videos as well. Just watch through a few of mine, and that'll come out somewhere. All right. I don't think it's good for us as a species, first of all. So and if you're going to use backing tracks, I think using also like if you want to use a recording of it, I've used these. This is going to be boring to some of you, but a church bell, right? Or birds flying. Ah, there's one you haven't heard before. Birds flying over the audience because they're going to do this song about Swan Lake or so. I don't know, whatever. They want to create an ambiance, right? Thunder and lightning through lighting and a recorded sound would be fine with me. That's enhancing what? The live performance. Now, folks, for those of you who are more forgiving about this, I want to remind you what is being sold, and we talked a little bit about this. It is a live performance. That's the way these things are being promoted, as live. There have been artists that have come up and said, what we need to do is, if we're going to be doing backing tracks, there should at least be a disclaimer on the ticket. Portions of this show are not live. right? And while that's better, that's bullshit, man. Because what is this? I mean, it's like going to see Captain EO. That's not really Michael Jackson. You know what I'm saying? And it's a ride. Uh, I don't know why would anybody want to go see people lip syncing and miming to playing guitars. I just don't understand it, except that it must be an uneducated audience that just don't know the difference. They think they're just going to go see Foreigner or Kiss, right? Which, speaking of Kiss, Kiss was in my last stream, right? In part two. Here they are in part three. All right. We talked about them regarding the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and earlier this evening. Here they are about backing tracks. Here's what Gene Simmons has to say. Kiss have been targeted by fans and critics for decades, and Gene Simmons has been more than happy to take any dissenting opinions head on. In 2015, he said the band was one of the few, folks, alongside others like ACDC. Ooh, name dropping. So you're as good as ACDC. Doubt it. And Metallica. Oh, look at the room of accomplishment Gene name dropped himself into there, folks. Isn't that wonderful? Who were not using backing tracks. See, we're just like them, right? We're not using backing tracks. Uh, calling it dishonesty. Well, he's right there. I agree with you, Gene. It is dishonest. It's a lie. Can't abide a liar. So I agree with your comment there, Gene. All right. Good on you, brother. But bandmate Paul Stanley has come under fire since then. You knew this one was coming. I've covered this. Um, Being accused of lip syncing during the group's end of the road farewell tour. See what I mean? Those end of the road farewell sayonara wouldn't want to be a hasta la vista baby tour. You know, they just get longer titles every time. It seems like these days. Manager Doc McGee. Oh, we talked about managers in the last stream, so keep in mind the excellent example of Irving Azoff. Okay. Well, Doc McGee, yeah, there's the guy that sounds trustworthy, right? Doc McGee insisted otherwise, while apparently revealing that the vocal uses tracks. See, he wasn't denying that. He'll sing to tracks. It's all part of the process, McGee explained, because everybody wants to hear everybody sing, but he fully sings to every song. In other words, he has a semi live mic. 90% of what you're hearing is not him. He's been turned way down, and for a good reason. The guy can't sing anymore. Only one reason for that. He can't do it anymore, right? And yet, Kiss is not guilty of this. You know, Kiss is looking less and less what they started off with. So they've digressed to alarming rates, and it's greed. You know what? I've got a new little club that I've named the $1 Billion Babies Club. And you know what? I want to officially announce right now, Kiss is, you know, the honorary chairman of that club. All right. It's all about the dollars. I've talked about that. It's not about creating art anymore. It's about and talking about bringing that sponge one more time for one more buck to drip out of it, and that seems to be where Kiss is these days. And what scruples, what honesty, Gene. What honesty? Because don't tell me you didn't know how your compadre's vocals were being mixed. And where there is smoke, my friend, there is always fire. Nikki Six. Okay, I've covered this bastard for a long time, haven't I? All right, Nikki Six has always maintained that the group has used sequencers and what are those called? Low tone generators. What are there's another term, I'm not remembering it. Subtone generators, background vox tracks, plus background singers and us, right? Uh, Yet uh, McMars has said quite straight, as matter of factly, and Mick Mars is the only guy in that band I trust, that Nikki Six never played a lick of a bass note when they were touring the last time that Mick Mars was touring with them. And there are uh, YouTube videos, you can look it up. Uh, just type miming might even work. Nikki Six miming bass, and you'll get a video, I'm sure, that'll show you. He's out here and the bass is going all over the place and he's not playing. All right. So when Nikki Six makes a statement like this that already includes sequencers, subtones, background vox tracks, plus background singers and us, don't tell me the whole band isn't. Oh, and that's right. Tommy Lee. Tommy Lee was busted. He hadn't sit down behind the drums yet. He was just taking his seat at the drum throne. Drums were already playing, man. They tried to lie their bastard mouths away from that by saying that it was a click track playing. No, it was drums. The drums that everybody thought he was playing live, right? Uh, Vince Neil can't even get the lyrics right, let alone his voice is nowhere near what it used to be. And John Five coming in, to me, they're no longer Motley Crue. All right. So, Liar and Liar so far, right? What do we got? Mick Mars, him telling. So that was part of that story. Flea, the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Which one was it? It was, I think it was over their Super Bowl. Off Guard in 2014 planes at the year's festivities. I think, wasn't that the Super? Yeah, it was the Super Bowl 2014. Was that it? I don't watch the Super Bowl. That has lost my interest decades ago. I remember the last time I really wanted to see it. There's a couple of people I wanted to see, and I showed up for halftime, and then yeah, I'm gone. You know, it's too much. I don't know. It doesn't do me, folks. All right, but it says by now fans are well aware that some or many of the elements in a Super Bowl live performance are pre-taped, but it caught many music fans off guard when in 2014 the Red Hot Chili Peppers were caught obviously playing to recorded tracks at that year's festivities. Now they talked to Flea later on, the bass player, and he said, "What was it? They had a chance to play." Yeah, here it goes. Bassist Flea eventually responded with an open letter posted to the band's website, pointing out that they had been historically against faking it, but they realized that a chance to play the Super Bowl was a once in a lifetime achievement. See, just like all those fools we talked about in part one, once they get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, all their criticisms disappear for the most part, right? There's a few heroes in there, but very few. Okay, so once in a lifetime, crazy thing to do. It, in other words, there's a limit to their honesty and authenticity and their realness. The Red Hot Chili Peppers just named their price. All right, Chippy Peppers. Quit laughing at me, darling. That was mean. You always do that. But anyway, always marry a woman that'll do this to you. You know, important. Never marry unevenly yoked. Marry a woman who'll give you a round or two. All right, we get to Axl Rose. Oh, everybody knows what a fan I am of Axl Rose, right? I mean, if you're a longtime viewer of this channel, you must know that I'm a not so big fan of Axl Rose. Matter of fact, one of my biggest videos, I think it's number 4 now. Used to be number 3, but a video I did earlier this year knocked it out of the number 3 position, but still real high, over 200,000 views. And it's a video, a real short video on why I can't stand Axl Rose's voice, And so I'm not a fan of him. I do realize that many people have a lot of good things to say about him. The pundits out there will say he has a 2.5 octave range, and he commands the presence. He goes beyond second tenor into alto range, say hinging on soprano. What a marvelous guy he is. My good friend Royce, I hope you're still out there, Royce. Loves Guns N' Roses, was even in one of their videos as an extra, part of that process. He has a tale to tell about that. And he likes Axl Rose better than me. I don't. And I understand there's a lot of you that do, right? But I don't like the guy even as a guy, really. And So that's kind of my thing. But listen to this. One of the most prominent reactions to the Chili Peppers performance came from the notoriously reclusive, not reclusive enough, Axl Rose. All right. The vocalist took a lighthearted approach, sharing his thoughts in a statement sent to the various press outlets. I enjoyed the show, and I've no idea what the real story is, nor would I want to suggest or to imply anyone wasn't actually performing or what they were playing wasn't what we were actually heard, unquote, requote, consider that maybe sometimes before their actual performance that rather than use a guitar chord or standard wireless that in some name of science and for all mankind flee courageously. Oh God. Yeah. I'm not liking him any better, folks. This man who put these marbles in his mouth. Uh, Flee courageously had a newly invented breakthrough in microchip technology installed in his ass that picked up the frequency of his bass and transmitted them to his amplifier. Rose eventually urged everyone to calm down, but not before making a few more jokes, including his suggestion that they may have set a new record for the largest karaoke audience ever. Awesome. He thinks it's great. He doesn't. He doesn't. This guy's Axl Rose. I don't care for him, but I have to admit he's big, big time, right? A lot of people, a lot of you folks like Guns N' Roses. You love Axl Rose. As a matter of fact, that's one point of contention within the tribe, right? I have a lot of fans who, not fans, but viewers who uh, think that Axl Rose is overrated, but I have as many fans who absolutely love him. And I respect your viewpoint, right? But think about this, that would make him a leader in rock, right? Whether I see him as one, but the record sales, his position in rock, the fact that anybody would sit down and listen to a paragraph of nonsense so that he could produce a soundbite, sees him as important enough to give him an entire paragraph as a soundbite. Where's the leadership? Okay? Because using backing tracks is freaking cheating. All right? But that's what we want these days. We either want our trophies given to us for participating, like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Oh, did you have hits over there that's generating money we could get our greedy little hands on and promote? Because I got friends over here, right? And so the lying that goes over there, the reinventing of history that goes on over there, right? The wishful thinking by some artists like Kid Rock who would like to drop his prices, but the problem would continue. Yet, not quite having the guts to step up to the plate and drop his prices anyway because it's the right thing to do. And now we have cheating. It's pretty simple in my world, folks. Try to tell the truth. You know what? Then you don't have to remember your story down the road. Just say what's real, your honest thoughts. Try not to lie to your fellow man. All of us fall short of that from time to time, but make that your goal. Try not to take your neighbor's stuff. All right, it doesn't fucking belong to you. All right, that's a pretty simple kind of philosophy to go through life in, right? Don't freaking deceive me because then that becomes a lie, right? And using backing tracks, especially to an uninformed younger audience that is paying the bulk of these tickets, is a lie. Lying, cheating, and murder. Did I mention they're guilty of murder? They're murdering the art form of classic rock. They refuse to give birth to new children, new music, new creations. They're guilty of a whole lot of horrible crimes. Okay, let's go on to the next one here. Phil Collins, Def Leppard. While the albums that Def Leppard recorded with Mutt Lange featured stacks and stacks of vocals and assorted instruments, the group draws a clear line in the live setting. We've always used keyboard things and parts of a drum loop, like on Rocket, and I could understand that. There's to the lady that I'm sorry, I forget which one of you fine ladies gave that comment regarding the use of click tracks, but here's another example that I would agree with. There's no problem with this, really, on what he's talking about here. You couldn't really play that part live, he admits. Guitarist Phil Collins explained to UCR in 2019, so we've used stuff like that. But that is as far as it goes. Our vocals are always live, and that's the big difference. We're like a live vocal band, he pointed out. That's something that a lot of other bands don't do. They kind of fake the vocals, and it's not them. But this is really us, and this is us being real. Okay? So, kudos to Def Leppard. All right? There's a guy that's standing up, unless you guys are aware, where they've been busted since then, because we've talked about a few that said one thing at one time, but I haven't heard anything. So I'll take them at their last good word, right? Okay. Now, here's another person I've made videos on, David Coverdale, one of my favorite singers. I think very talented lead singer. Love Coverdale Page album. Loved his work with Deep Purple. And Whitesnake weren't bad either. All right. Very, a guy I was very interested in, bought a lot of his albums under many different guises. Okay. He says, I remember years ago somebody who should have known better had made a remark that they were shocked to see us using tapes. Coverdale said in a 2023 interview. This is many, many years ago. Nobody could be further from the fucking truth, he says. Quoting him, are you kidding? My band are great players and great singers. Simple fact. Eventually, he invited the journalists to come along and witness the truth for themselves. I got to tell you, you're getting it live wherever you are, good or bad, it's live. What a wonderful guy he is, isn't he? Or is he? I've covered him in the past, haven't I, folks? You remember that? Okay. Look back on what he just said about his band. A wonderful group of musicians and singers. All right. He's not talking about just the backing vocals from other members of the band here. He's talking about singers he's got hidden behind the scenes that start singing when he can't hit the range that wonderful range he used to have. He's not like Robert Plant, who works with what he's got. He's trying to replicate everything on stage as close to the record, which is exactly why most of these morons say they do this, is because that's the crowd's expectation, and we're going to talk about that. All right. So when he gets to a certain level, you know, and he gets up there, wah, right? You know what happens? The guy back, wah, and he just goes, what is that called? That's lip syncing. You don't need a backing track to be guilty of lip syncing. You can actually have a live human being, and he hides those singers. They're not readily seen by the audience. And we've seen how certain bands will do that. Some of them will let them be seen, but behind like black veiled curtains, low lighting to accentuate the well lit 4 or 5 people that are on stage. Okay? That's less honest,
but it's not total dishonesty. And if you guys are a fan of that kind of performance, I can't say I disagree with you too much. I don't think I want to go see it because I'd want to go see him because of his marvelous voice, and because of, or if he doesn't have that, like I said, a concert I just barely missed. Royce got there, damn you, Royce, and made it, and that was with Robert Plant, Nowlis, and Krause. I David Cloverdale, I'd love to go see, but only if he sings what he can sing, and if his voice is totally shot, maybe I don't want to see him anymore. All right, it would depend on what he's got to offer me. Right, that doesn't mean I won't be collecting his albums anymore or anything like that. But you got to offer me something. Right, it's time to quit paying these bastards for what they're not supplying. Unhonest. Remember, we're talking. This is all being billed as live performances, folks. What about Nuno Betancourt from Extreme, a band I'm not real familiar with, but people have been criticizing. He says people have been criticizing bands for using backing tracks. Betancourt said in 2023. I tell them to go fuck themselves. Not in front of my face, young man. Really. Try it. Because it's not your fucking choice, is what he says. Oh, what a tiger. Right? Man's, yeah. Oh, like it. You don't like it, don't go see the fucking band. Wow. Holy shades of Roger Waters. Isn't that what he says to half his audience these days? He's been quoted saying the same thing, only this guy is defending using backing tracks. But it's not wrong and it's not right. For the guitarist, it's when the musicians on stage pretend to do something and they cross the line. That's not cool with me because then you're lying to the audience. But you just said using these backing tracks, so you're okay with a less than honest performance, right? Because we really do need to get back. I'm not saying they shouldn't have these orchestrations, but the cost of doing business is supplying them, not backing tracks of, you know, the 50 violin players that aren't really there and are so integral to your performance that if they aren't, if you lose your freaking laptop, you cancel your concerts. That's happened with several bands in the last couple of years, hasn't it? Matter of fact, we may be talking about a couple of those bands. As a matter of fact, no, I don't think Nuno was part of it. Wolfgang Van Halen, stay home. That's what Wolfgang Van Halen said in 2021 regarding backing tracks. I think it's a cop out to use tracks unless it's like for a keyboard part that you can't necessarily get. Why? Why would it be with that exception, Wolfgang? Are you talking about like an envelope keyboard part, like that loop that the Who use at the beginning of the Who's next album, that's so integral to that sound. If that's what you're talking about, well, then I might agree with you. But if you're talking about, oh, these very complicated piano and nobody in the band can play that because you had a guest piano player in there, then play it the way the fucking band can do it. I don't know what he's talking about here. So you got to always think about these guys and read them in between the lines, folks, because so many of them will say one thing and then get caught within months of being guilty of the very thing that they condemn. But I'm not sure with him. Maybe some of you guys know. After I get down this list, we'll get back to some of what you've got saying. Let me know if there's anybody you think that's guilty of this or that isn't guilty of it who have been charged with that. Okay. Um, but anyway, he winds up by saying, I think you should just go home and listen to shit on Spotify. All right. Uh, okay. Sebastian Bach, always an outspoken figure on the subject, former Skid Row vocalist Sebastian Bach didn't hold back when he spoke with UCR in 2021. Of course, this is based on a UCR article. I don't see a lot of bands coming up that are going to replace the classic rock stars. In other words, the classic rock stars from the classic rock era. He said because too many of them rely on tapes, and that's not going to last the test of time. There's going to be a time when those tape bands are going to have to do it for real, and people are going to go, "This is a fucking joke." Quote. And I just know that real musicians hit your heart way more hard than guys miming to a tape. Now, I don't know much about Sebastian Bach. I wasn't a big fan of Skid Row, but maybe you guys can tell me, is he a man worth his word? I might even start listening to some of their tracks if he's a man of his word. Have they not been caught? Because that was them's fighting words, right? So I hope he's a man of his word. I'm just not that familiar with his history and the band's history. They didn't quite gel enough for me. I came around a time there was a whole bunch of those kind of bands. I just you know, wasn't exciting for me at all. Chris Robinson, Black Crows. I've covered, I think, this very statement before on a previous video about 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks ago, maybe. When you need to use that shit, it's time to stop, says Chris. When you come to a live show, it should be live all the way. The vocalist got himself in hot water earlier in his career when he called out heavyweights like Aerosmith, Robert Plant, and Hart for using backing tapes. Robert Plant. Never heard of Robert Plant using backing tapes. Is that true? Did any of you guys know that? Because if you did, shame on him. I don't think he is these days, but was there a time like when he was coming off at that hot period post Led Zeppelin and he was getting a little older, couldn't do it, but he was still touring them? I don't know. But he got into hot water naming them. If you're an entertainer and you take it seriously, you entertain with your natural abilities, you go on stage and take a chance like everyone else. People say to us, man, I heard some bad notes in your set tonight. Well, fucking A. You heard some bad notes? You saw a real band tonight, didn't you? Damn freaking right. A bad note here or there doesn't bother me in the least. As a matter of fact, when they do get it right, you go, look how much of it they actually replicated. You know, those are the bands that come close to replicating without the use of backing tracks. Those are the ones that, well, they're high on Mount Rock Olympus, in my opinion. Adrian Smith, Iron Maiden, while Maiden has one of the most elaborate productions you'll see from a touring perspective. You won't find them going overboard with extra tricks when it comes to their live performances. I'll tell you what, I see it with a lot of younger bands, and I don't think it's a good at all. Second, senior kind of rocker here, kind of saying there's a problem with some of the approach of some of the newer and younger bands out there, right?
Adrian, he says, I mean, the music is getting too technical now. You have computerized recording systems, which we use, but I think we use them more for convenience than we need to. Wow. It's like he said it this way. I remember his tongue's getting in his way. He's stepping on his own damn tongue. Here. Oh, it's for convenience. Well, bully to you, Adrian Smith. I'm glad you're not being inconvenienced. I'm glad you don't have to work for a living like the rest of us. That's I'm glad you're convenient. I'm glad you're comfortable. Can we send a massage therapist to your room after the show? All right. Screw you, buddy. Convenience. I, I worked my ass off on the level that I was to perform the very best I could every night. And I fucked up a lot. I had bad nights. I had great nights, right? That's the life of a musician. But he wants to be convenient. He wants the lifestyle to be convenient. Oh, how many new songs have they put out recently? I don't know. Uh, Ian Gillan. All right. Now, I told you earlier tonight he'd be on. We talked about him, about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and that he'd be on this list as well. He says it used to be drugs. Now it's tape. It used to be drugs. Now it's tape. Personally, I think it's cheating.
Oh, honey, you got a super things.
I'll get right back to this one. I sure did. $5 from Captain Coke is back in the house.
He's back.
All right. And I'm going to have to skip here because I'm going through in between screens, but I do want to acknowledge that whenever a super thanks comes in, you get my attention right away. If this thing will quit unfreezing. You never know with these things. This I we actually had this. This was Kimberly's mom's iPad, and she had very basic needs, and so we got one that had been rebuilt or reconditioned and everything, and it has its weaknesses in it, but uh, you know it, it's just touchy. And I haven't had a chance to go in and really reconfigure it to see if I can take some of the load off of it and everything because I've been so busy with you guys, right? Let's see here. I do want to get to this. Boy, everything's freezing up. Uh, there we go. Oh, a commercial. Wow, they make that game? Cool. Anyway, it was for a game. Let me see if I can get in here. Captain Coke, $5. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Captain Coke was all over the place. What was that? That was Sunday? Just crazy amount. And you know what? All of these people, they always get a shout out. In my next pre-recorded video, those of you who gave some really nice ones in the first stream, and this one here will all get shouted out. I give you a little floating window, call you a rock star, make you feel good. Because damn, you're making me feel good here. Captain Coke says, thank you for your channel. Thanks for being you. Well, you're welcome. Listen, this is what I mean. You're getting it straight from the poop. I don't lie. I don't want to have to remember what I said on somebody else's stream or anything. I say pretty much what I think in the moment, right? If I'm guilty of anything, I'm not the most eloquent person. I speak and shoot from the hip. I have a basic code that I go by that I think wouldn't hurt the human race to embrace a little more honesty, right? A little more straightforward communication. Tell us what you really feel, Michael. You do get that when you're watching me, and I appreciate you, Captain Coke, and I appreciate all of you who find some sort of benefit from this channel because today's stream, I earlier I called it, Michael's Marathon of Madness. I've never streamed this long in my entire life. Not, I've done two streams in a row, but even that uh, it didn't entail with how much time we've spent on this subject tonight. But I really felt this subject's important. I've been talking about this in bits and dribbles on my channel for 3 full solid years. I believe it's important that we go over that. And I also appreciate you guys who financially support the channel, as well as you people who view the channel and give me thumbs up. By the way, if you haven't, now would be a good time, because if you do, you're a rock star. All right, so let's get on to the next artist that opens their mouth about this. Where were we? We just finished with Sebastian Bach, Chris Robinson, Adrian Smith. Okay, we handled that. Ian Gillan, we covered. Okay, next up, Rick Nielsen, I should say, from Cheap Trick. Is Cheap Trick going to surrender? See what they did there? To backing tracks? Never. I think some bands have songs that they want to get across, and maybe it's the only way they can get them across. Well, thanks for mansplaining the other side, brother. But anyway, because maybe they fall short with the live version. Nielsen said in 2023, Cheap Trick doesn't use backing tracks. Instead, the band has occasionally employed extra touring musicians, including former Kansas vocalist Steve Walsh on keyboards in the 80s, and more recently, Robin Zander's son, Robin Taylor Zander, on backing vocals and rhythm guitar. The younger Zander has also variously filled in on drums, bass, lead guitar as needed. Nielsen sees a parallel between this method and using backing tracks. It's no different than having more people on stage with you. Sometimes you do that, sometimes you don't. Um, that has an argument for it, except when it gets to the point that the majority of the musicians up there are not the band. All right. When you go and see a band, and you have to have people like, what vocals is this guy performing? Is he performing the vocals that the other guy can't? And is that kind of being honestly presented? It would get down to the David Coverdale situation. But yeah, it's live. And yeah, if that's, as bad as it got, and he is worth his word, I guess that would be okay with me. I probably wouldn't go see him, because I don't want to see a bunch of extra people doing what I just want to see the band. That's me. All right. Dave Grohl, Foo Fighters. I told you he'd be back in tonight's conversation. We talked about him earlier. Raised on a steady diet of bands like Van Halen and Queen, it's hardly surprised that David Grohl has an opinion on backing tracks, and it's one that goes back nearly 20 years. We don't try to sound perfect like on the record. We don't use backing tracks, he said in 2005. That's kind of a crutch other bands have up their sleeve. That Now think about what he just said there, folks. That's kind of a crutch other bands have up their sleeve. He's calling them gimps. He's calling all the bands up there, they're just a bunch of gimps, not quite capable of walking, right? I mean, think about it. Crutch, sleeve. Yeah. Anyway, he doubled down on that thought. I'd rather sound awful and have the chance to change things at a whim than sound like Linkin Park or Motley Crue because of today's technology. Oh, he names two. Isn't that nice? So I like Dave Grohl, everything he stood for. I like the Foo Fighters, and they've got a solid moral compass on most things, I would imagine, or at least in the business area. I don't know about their personal life or anything like that. Not that interested. Okay. Billy Sheehan, who's performed with David Lee Roth and Mr. Big, demonstrating how far back usage of backing tracks sketches. Billy Sheehan cites a specific moment during his time working with David Lee Roth, which was the beginning of the end. My last moments with David were in the studio. We sang all the background vocals for the Skyscraper tour to be on samples for them to use live, which went against my grain. Yet you did it, brother. To start with, he says, went against my grain to start with. You did it, right? You did it. The pair parted ways after a meeting that came that same day. through the vocals, the basses recorded, though the vocals, the basses recorded, were still used on the tour as planned. I'm very, very much against faking it. Well, then why did you? Your vocals were still being used, and you knew what they were being used for. You may have been against it, but you didn't stand up and be counted, brother. So much for Billy Sheehan. Kelly Hansen. We all know that there are bands out there that are traveling, playing, taking your money, and not giving you a real live performance. Hansen told Austin, Texas crowd in 2023, no matter what you say about me or any of us, we're the fucking real deal. Quote. He suggested a bit of love for any offenders that they might encounter. He suggested a bit of tough love. Sorry. He suggests a bit of tough love for any of the offenders that they might encounter. Anything less is somehow saying, fuck you for supporting me for decades. I like that. And that's really what it is. So anytime you see anyone out there who's doing that, tell them to go fuck themselves. Listen, quote, listen, if you ain't got it, these rockers got such a foul mouth, don't they? If you ain't got it anymore, you ain't got it. All right, just deal with it and move on. And are we seeing these days Kelly Hansen dealing with it? Because they're saying he's not going down south of not the border, south of the equator because of residency issues. I tried to look up what that could be. All right. I have no clue about that. He's being very mysterious about that. We've got a young pup that's being groomed by the band. I said a Broadway play. It's a Broadway like play. I think it's based in Canada. All right. And then we see Kelly touring and Lou Graham going in. They've kissed and made up. Amazing what a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame trophy can do for you. Graham's ego has been salved by a trophy, but because they never got along, right? But now he's playing nice with them and doing a few tour dates with them. I He's either just finished his last tour or is finishing it up, and whatever. But at least if you are, because I know some of you disagree with me about Foreigner, that you'd want to go see them, even in the incarnation that they are now. They are live. That's what they claim. I haven't seen anything that goes beyond that. My problem with the band extends or begins far before they even step on stage. All right. But if they are playing truly live, kudos to them. Brett Michaels from Poison. Poison frontman Brett Michaels has taken the art of live performance very seriously, keeping in mind that the fans, including those who have traveled a long distance to see the performance, he says this: for me, I want to put on a badass show. I want to sing good. I want to sound good, he said in 2022. You got to remember, with Poison or the Brett Michaels solo band, we don't use anything. There's nothing going on. uh, I'll keep my mouth shut. There's no backing tracks. We sit at sound check and work on those harmonies. We work on making it good. And when we get down here further, there's another band talking about sound checks. And keep in mind, I'm not a major Poison fan, another band or Brett Michaels or anything like that. But this is good news for them. And if you are a Poison fan or a Brett Michaels fan, you've got a guy that you can be proud of. That's all I can say, because this is awesome. Wait till we get down and talk about what bands that how they use sound check. Now, for those of you who don't know what a sound check is when before the show, often way before the show, before the fans even start lining up, when the venue is truly hollow and they can go and check out how the sound is coming through the sound system, going over maybe some last minute changes or just rehearsing the show, right?
and they are busy like the Eagles used to be. Remember, you'd have those background images of the Eagles in a bathroom, all collectively because they like the acoustics of it, and all five of them singing in harmony in the bathroom, right? Back when the Eagles had something to offer, right? So Brett Michaels is saying they're doing that. That's exactly what a sound check is. I've done 1,000 sound checks in my life, and I've also played venues where that wasn't an option. And just hope that everything came off and you got your settings right. And like I said, good nights and bad nights. Glenn Hughes. All right, now Glenn Hughes, a major fan of mine, with Black Country Communion. Oh, okay. All right. Now I understand. I don't know if Helene's with us tonight. Is she with us for the second?
No, hun.
Okay. Well, she might catch this later because she's been trying to turn me on to Black Country Communion. I didn't know. I haven't been following Glenn except to see some of his current live performances. But I loved him with Deep Purple. That's where I got to know him. And he absolutely was a fantastic bassist who uh, kind of bumped into playing bass. He never wanted to play bass, he wanted to sing, but he positioned himself to get into wherever he was going musically. I think personally, I liked him as a vocalist better than David Coverdale, and I love David Coverdale. And with the two of them, what a powerhouse! He says you can't have people pay to see someone lip sync. This is the first comment he says. Um, that sounds pretty okay. But Hughes' opinion on the subject are nuanced. Okay, so let's see what he has to say. He allows that using tapes for some music is okay and concedes that bands have been doing it for years. Okay, so there's the same old excuse, right? Well, they're doing it. Well, everybody does it, right? You know, I'm just part of the crowd. I have no leadership role whatsoever. I just roll with the masses, right? That's what it translates to me. And yet I love this guy. It's just not fair. But with vocals, he does say that. But first he says, but with vocals, I'm just not going to do go with it. It's just not fair. Why is it more fair when you do the vocals live and it's or yeah, it's why is it more unfair if you don't do the vocals live than it is when you got a guitar solo that's too tough to perform because whoever's up there can't do it anymore. They're arthritic or whatever. Unfair is unfair, brother. You don't split the pea to make the soup. All right, and that's what you're doing. So I disagree with Glenn there. Uh, major rock hero of mine as far as a performer, and he was the bass player for my second favorite, Mark with Deep Purple, and I loved the albums he was on there. David Mustaine, Megadeth. He says you might have guessed that Mustaine's opinion would come with a serrated edge. No shit to it, and you'd be correct. If you can play it live and you're being fucking lazy and you're wanting to see whatever just happened a couple of days ago with one of those big bands and singer, the tape started and the drummer wasn't playing or something, you probably heard about that. He said during an interview. Uh, we don't have vocals that are canned. Usually, what we have is a MIDI click track that runs all of our lights and switches on all of our solos and stuff. Now, remember, I talked about that mixing board before. Those algorithms burst up the guitar, so he doesn't have to sit there and click or turn up his volume knob, play the first part with it down to 5, or have a volume pedal, or have the click. That's what they did before. Now it's all motorized, baby. And I'm okay with that. That's fine. That's fine because then he can concentrate on the playing as long as he's still playing. But I could see the purists even having a problem with that. Is well, wasn't that part of the art form? You'd see these guitarists with the pinky rolling the volume knob and their pick over here as they're playing with the volume knob, right? A guitar technique. We lose that. What do you guys think of that? You know,
uh, where everything's mechanized, you don't have to worry about turning up your amp or switching to another pedal, which many people say many of the pedals, the more sophisticated pedals, are kind of cheating anyway, emulating 3 amps and this and that and famous correlations and all of that, amp correlations or combinations and things like that. A lot of people aren't real comfortable with that. Uh, I I'm of about two or three opinions in that area. But there's so many other things that are more wrong right here, right now, in the area. We could attack some of that later on. First of all, we got to get a victory that makes this kind of crap not okay, folks. Mikey D, Scorpions Motorhead. Mikey D is among those who have a split opinion. Go figure, right? Lip syncing sucks big time. I hate it. That's not fun at all, he said. But when it comes to backing tracks, sometimes it's not too bad if you use it in a proper way. Okay. The right way, in Dee's view, comes down to recording parts that are hard to reproduce on stage. And he says the Motorhead boss Lemmy felt similarly. Well, it's nice that, you can speak for him these days. Even still, the drummer feels like the late metal legend would feel differently about how it's being used these days. I don't think he would like it. He would be mostly against it. Well, there's so much flip flop with this, Mickey D. I don't know which way to take you. How far have you taken it? You don't get specific. You just kind of say, well, there's some stuff it's hard to reproduce on stage. You're not being very enlightening, and I have doubts about you, just based on your flip flopping kind of comment. See, you got to read between the lines, people. If they say here and then say something the opposite and then try and make a statement that makes the two kind of gel together, there's probably a little bit of lying and chicanery going on, in my opinion, every single time. Stephen Percy from Rat, another band I did not follow. Backing tracks have been common in pop music, something which Rat Stephen Percy acknowledges, while putting an asterisk next to Taylor Swift, calling her a real kind of gal. Oh boy, I'm not going to like this guy at all, am I? Boy. But he didn't hold back on his venom when it came to the subject. I think it's bullshit, really, he said in 2023. And my peers are doing that shit. I love my guys in Motley Crue, but do I hear a but coming? Yes, folks, there is a but. He says, when that shit is but when that shit is but when that shit is everywhere on stage and your bass is piped out. See what I said about Nikki Six? He is reconfirming it as a person.
Super thanks from Captain Coke again.
Oh my goodness gracious, Captain Coke, you're turning out to be a second stream hero here today. You're a second stream hero. That's what I want you to be. Okay, let's take a look at this. Oh my goodness. Uh, Make sure I'm getting the right one here, Kimberly.
Okay, it's Captain Coke.
Okay, Mick Jones created. Is that the one that just came across?
Yeah.
The $5. Thank you so much, Captain Coke. Mick Jones created and has ruined Foreigner. It's sad. Sorry I'm late. Oh, you're never late, brother. Besides, if you don't catch me on live, you can always catch me later. And I do eventually get back and try to answer those. But when I'm running live streams, and then like tomorrow, I set up, I've got to shoot a video tomorrow and a video the next day, or I've got to shoot them both on Saturday. Uh, Tonight is Wednesday, so or Friday, I should say, so that I have plenty of time to get ready for my stream here on Sunday and be on Royce's immediately after at 6:30 p.m. So we do that on Sundays. I start at 5. We go for an hour, half-hour break, and then I'm back up on Royce, and Royce takes over. All right, and I just kind of insert, like I said, Royce just lets me off the leash and lets me just prance around like a puppy. Okay, that's what I have to offer over there. But thank you so much, Captain Coke. I do appreciate it. And like I've said many times, all of these donations go to me running this channel. I have equipment that I started this channel about 3.5 years ago. I have equipment that has aged, and I occasionally have to replace it. It keeps it up going, and it keeps me going. And then I make a small profit that supplements an income. Nowhere near as much as you think, because maintenance of equipment and bringing on new platforms, things like that, cost money. And I appreciate all of you who are able to do that. If you're not able to do it, I appreciate you watching. I appreciate your thumbs up. I can't say that enough. All right. But thank you so much. And I'm going to get back to this uh, uh, description by Percy from Rat. Okay. But thank you, Captain Coke. By the way, I love your handle. Captain Coke is all over the
I know, I
place.
love that.
Isn't that cool?
I love it.
Yeah. It's kind of got a personality, right? Wouldn't you say, babe?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah. She's going, oh, yeah.
he's
Yeah.
not so cool.
Yeah. Great handle. Great handle. Let's see. JJ French, Twisted Sister. Okay. I'm not a Twisted Sister fan. All right. But I have made videos on Twisted Sister when they've taken a stand, or at least their lead singer, what's his name? I'm not even thinking about him right now. Who was the lead singer for Twisted Sister? I've done several. It's just in the moment, I can't think of his name. D. Snyder. All right. D. Snyder. I kind of like the way he rolls. He's willing to kind of put your dukes up kind of guy. My kind of guy. I like that. Says exactly what he means and everything. But I wasn't a fan of the band by any stretch of the imagination for several reasons. But JJ French and Twisted Sister, add JJ French to the list of artists who are conflicted by backing tracks. There's a lot of money on the table. Oh, so okay, that's a concern to him. He said in 2023, looking at it from a management perspective, bonds are under a lot of pressure to replicate records, he says. Okay, I'm adding some inflection here. The guitarist praised the legacy artists like Robert Plant, who are so honest. Now, he's saying Robert Plant is so honest with themselves and realize they cannot do what they used to do. And of course, we know that his concerts are very freaking organic. All right. So there's a naysayer to the guy who said that Robert Plant used to use backing tracks. So we'll see. I don't know. Maybe that was during his solo career. They were using keyboard backing tracks. I don't know. Shame on him if he did. I never thought that he was. All right. Uh, let's see. Then he goes on. He gives further kudos to Mick Jagger while pointing out, boy, nothing two-faced by these people at all. By Also pointing out rumors that the Rolling Stones have employed additional guitar players behind the scenes. I think that's pretty obvious. Has been obvious. They've had background players for a long while. But when it comes to French's own band, Twisted Sister, it's all real. In the 15 years from 2003 to the time we retired, we never used backing tracks. Well, okay. I don't know what you're bragging about. You don't think that it's anything to be bragging about, evidently, by everything else you said. But I guess kudos to you, brother. I don't know. Blackie Lawless has been the subject of a couple of videos when I've covered the backing tracks in the band. I'm not even going to read this paragraph because I'm kind of aware of some of his statements. He has said that Wasp sound is a very thick sound because when we go into the studio, I do vocal after vocal, layer, right? And guitar, layer, guitar, bass, maybe a second bass line laddered, subwoofers and all of that. Well, it becomes this cacophony that is known as WASP. And he said we never used to do it, but the performances sounded thin. And so the only reason he started using backing tracks was to make the performances sound like records. And I know that some of you even made comments that you want your live performances to sound as close to the record as possible. And that's why you abide backing tracks. And while it's true, you will get a closer sound to the record, and sonically and phonically, everything will be wonderful. All I can say is welcome to freaking Disneyland because you're on a ride. It ain't real. Thunder Mountain Railroad isn't real. It's a ride. You're not really in the old West, people. You know, Pirates of the Caribbean is a ride, a mechanized wonder of a ride, but you're not back in the 1600s. All right. It's a ride. It's not real, right? And it's not live. It is Memorex. All right. And so when music becomes a ride, I have a problem with it. Scott Ian from Anthrax. Scott Ian once said that the concert ticket should note if the artist is using backing tracks and not fully playing live. I don't want to sound like an old man, but I mean, come on. He goes on to say, look, I get it. If it's some kind of giant pop act and giant production or something like that, or if it's Pink Floyd doing The Wall, and there's recorded stuff, voiceovers, whatever, things like that. But I hate going to a show, and I just instantly know all of the backing tracks are pre recorded. In 2023, his views seem to shift. As he noted, another shifter, folks. All right. I don't really care what artists and bands do to make their show happen. The touring process has never been tougher. Oh, is it tough? Are you guys having a tough time out there? Yeah, try digging ditches. Why don't you put up drywall for a living, right? Be a mailman. Deliver that shit in the rain or snow or sleet or tornadoes, right? Work in McDonald's in the grease and go home with a level of grease on your hair. Pump gas. Of course, nobody does that anymore, but I used to do that. Anything to make a buck to pay the bills, right? But wow, touring is tough, really. And we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars that these lesser bands make per show, and the hundreds of thousands of dollars the major fans make per show, sometimes even more. I don't want to hear how tough it is. I've been a musician. I know how tough it is. It's part of the lay of the land, and shame on you for changing your position. Marty Friedman, ex Megadeth. Marty Friedman took a sanguine approach when asked about the backing tracks by the Sinking Stanley YouTube channel, which exposes and makes fun of Kiss and Paul Stanley. If you get pissed off about something like lip syncing, he says, then you can't go to anything anymore. Singing and Kiss, I mean, it's not like you're going to see Celine Dion
Oh,
or
we got a
something.
super thing from Deuces Wild.
Oh, did we?
Yes, you did.
Oh, there you go. A $5 super thanks, Deuces Wild. I've been, by the way, Deuces, I've really been enjoying your comment. All right, your comments. And you've really found a place here. You're astute, a scholar, and a gentleman, right? And I'll get to your comment here, but I did want to finish this up with Marty Freeman. He says it's not like you're seeing Celine or Dion or somebody like that, where you really give a shit, he says, how many octaves someone can sing. Kiss is so many more things than just singing. So he's giving a buy. Bullshit. Bullshit. That's all I can say. They can't hack it. Don't promote it to begin with. So this next one, let's see how many. Oh, I've only got one more, and I'll get over to that super thanks here. Chris Jericho, Fozzy. As a wrestler, Jericho, I've covered this guy before, haven't I? It's been a while. It was going back a year and a half, maybe. Uh, Knows a thing or two about illusions. So perhaps, former wrestler, damn right, illusion. Uh, so perhaps it's unsurprising that Fozzy frontman defending backing tracks and admitted to using them in his own band. It doesn't mean we're not singing and not playing, Jericho said, citing classic rock titans that also use backing tracks. Well, they're doing it. There it is again. Well, they're doing it. Well, they're doing. That's what we've heard all night. They're doing it. Stand up. Be a man. If you're listening to a record
You're going, or you go to a Def Leppard gig and you hear "Pour Some Sugar on Me" that was recorded with 25 tracks of guitars. You can't just go with two guitars on stage in your right mind and think that there wasn't something to build up the background track. What do you mean, Chris? You can't. Sure, you could. You just don't include the backing tracks, and you have two guitars, and with the effects and stuff like that, there's way to triple the sound on that with real playing. This is them covering up the fact that they're not tight, they're incapable, they're too stoned out or drunk, they're too much the party animal to be tamed down. Now, I went through this list. I must have skipped, but one of these artists also brought out they don't use backing tracks, and they said they went to this other and they refused to name the band. Shame on them. Why not? Right? And they noticed during the sound uh, check that they had this building out there with a sign that says "Do not enter." And they, because he went out, this artist went out and said, "Wow, what a great sound check. Man, we're usually still working on our backing vocals." And all they were doing was getting up there, getting used to playing to the backing tracks that were in that pulled off shack, hiding the fact that they were all backing tracks. All right. So that includes the list that I had available for tonight. I want to get here and take a look at this latest super thanks because I always want to address what they had to say about it. Deuces Wild says here, hey, Michael, definitely check out Black Country Communion. I will, brother. Now that I know the connection with Glenn Hughes, right? I am definitely going to check them out. I always try and check out things as Helene has suggested. She's got a good set of ears. She's got a nice taste of music that's very close to mine. So I definitely accept that. And now with you saying that, that's even more reason to check them out. A throwback to kick-ass 70s hard rock. You will truly not be disappointed. All right. So Deuces Wild, Black Country Communion is on my next to do list. All right. So I'm going to work my way backwards here on this because I want to see if I can catch some of your stuff or your comments regarding what I covered in the last part of this stream. Let's see. I like that. I'm not sure what that has to do. Timothy O'Hare says there's a bumper sticker. Jersey girls don't pump gas.
We're talking about, like in Oregon, they don't have to pump gas.
Right.
In New Jersey, they don't have to pump. They have a bumper sticker that says girls don't pump gas in New Jersey.
Oh, so they've got, oh, really? Yeah, I can tell you, I pumped gas in about 8 different gas stations from my teens to early 20s to make ends meet.
California needs to
Yeah.
go back to not
Didn't know a damn thing about fixing automobiles, but I could check your oil, add air to your tires, pump your gas, clean your windshield, and do it with a smile. And made about, I think at that time, minimum wage was $2.25 an hour. All right. So, yeah, excellent there. Let's see. Okay. TJR. The Dogs of War by Pink Floyd performed live, had two keyboard players, two drummers, a rhythm guitar player, and David Gilmour sang it and played the guitar solos and the second rhythm guitar. I wouldn't be interested in that, would you? I know you're just telling me what that was. Plus a sax player and female singers. Yeah, and I saw when they were touring. I actually got one of their films of them touring just when David Gilmour's hair was starting to get a little shorter, but it was still longish, an extremely long Beatle cut at that point. And the sax player that came out, the big baritone sax player, yeah, I remember that. And the women offering the backing vocals, and I got it because I'm a Pink Floyd fan, but it's not one of my. I'd much rather watch them live at Pompeii. That's my favorite.
Pink Floyd, and all of that. But someone else brought up earlier, one of those rock stars, I don't remember which one, that he could see it to perform like The Wall or Dark Side of the Moon. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff there on Dark Side of the Moon that I'd be okay with them. If they wanted to, use the clock setting off, gang, 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 when that happens, the spoken word at the beginning, that's all fine. That's kind of like the Who using that envelope, right? And using it as a loop, and then out here in the fields, right? It goes on from there, and using that whole thing. That's fine. Like I said, I'm not dead set against every kind of backing track in the world, but it should enhance a live performance, nothing more. And if it gets in the way of that, don't you let them believe it, folks. Don't you let them fool you, I should say, into thinking that somehow this is an honest performance. And that gets back to the idea of people who are suggesting that at least the tickets need to say not all aspects of this performance are truly live. At least that is, a declaration and a more honest ticket sale. But I'm not even for that, right? I just don't like the whole approach. Kevin Hall, surfing Cronola. Backing tracks, keys. Elton John was on piano very live when Robert Plant was here in 1984 for a few tracks. No backing back then. Yes, love that. Jorge, tribe, 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 say, say. We are all together. Michael and Kimberly, thank you so much. We appreciate your good graces, my man. Caitlin, maybe. Oh, see, Caitlin gets involved deep into the conversations. Man, I'm telling you, I love her. Just like family. James Redding, yes, Stone Cold Steve Austin is better by far. See, I made my wrestling comment, and the wrestling fans came out, right? I knew that would happen. Man, why are there's so many wrestling fans in the vinyl community and the music community? I never got into it. I did see a battle royale with Andre the Giant, because my best friend at the time, my best friend, he's one of my best friends, but him and I were hanging during a sliver of time. Hector Silvis, and Hector and I, he was a major, like I say, he loved the Guess Who. That was our connection musically. He loved the Godfather of Soul. All right, that was his guy, and so I kind of got into James Brown through him. And he was a major wrestling friend, and he was a good friend of mine. So I went to this battle royale, and it was held at the Cow Palace in San Francisco when we were teenagers. So there is my entire wrestling story right there. Never cared for it. It's kind of, I don't want to offend you guys, but not my kind of thing. Not my kind of thing. I don't like the fake drama. You said, dude, boom. Although, I got to tell you, I loved Randy Savage. Did we just get another one pop up here?
Yes,
Uh,
Captain Coke.
my goodness gracious.
Good night, brother.
Captain
I
Coke.
enjoy your channel. Thank you, Kimberly.
Oh, thank you. And good night to you. I know I'm running a little late, right, Captain Coke? But sayonara, good kind captain. All right. I appreciate your support tonight. Thank you so much. I'm winding down here. All right, folks. We've got a couple of things. I just wanted to kind of get some, feel about what you guys have said. Deuces Wild. Many people regard Animals as their favorite album from them, and they are certainly have a case in saying so. And I agree with that, Deuce. I really do. Yeah, like I said, if I'm pushed to the wall, I got to give it to Dark Side of the Moon. It's just too much of a masterpiece. But my own personal favorite, kind of the one I go to. I kind of wait for Dark Side for special times of the year when I can really focus in on it, right? But probably played twice as much, mainly because I haven't played it to
Alex
death.
Alexander says, Michael, you truly are one of the greatest minds in rock history. I'm a professional musician in Nashville, and I tell everyone about you every day.
thank you. And who was this again, Kimberly?
Alex Alexander.
Alexander. In case you didn't hear what Kimberly just said, thank you so much. What an honor for you to say so about me. I have my, I have my strengths. I have my weaknesses. I just say what's on my mind, brother. Right? I mean, that's the way that I've always done that. But I was gonna, but thank you kindly for that. I appreciate that. You know what? Caitlin always calls me the professor over on her stream because I remind her of one of her old music professors from college, and I always take that as a very honorable thing. Thank you so much, Caitlin, and thank you, kind sir. When we get down to this, but I was going to say probably I go to animals more often than I do Deuces Wild, Dark Side of the Moon. Even though I have to give it to Dark Side as the greater creation, and I am reassessing the wall, as all my channel members know. I did a members only video, unboxing, unsleeving, whatever that,
Wow.
and introducing to the fact that I'm going to give it a fair shake because I never owned it on vinyl.
Randy Mills is here.
Who's that?
Randy Mills from Kelowna, BC, Canada. Love your channel. By the way, I have a Japanese pressing of Dark Side
Ooh,
OBI version.
OBI version,
I
yeah.
play it once a year.
Yes. And more power to you, Randy. And thank you kindly. I appreciate that. Your kind sentiments. You know what? That's how I listen to the top albums. There's some, you just hold them off for once or twice a year. They don't get old that way. And they become like if you sit down with the missus and watch whatever it is. Kimberly and I just love horror movies.
Oh, we do.
Now, it's not that we watch horror movies separately, but we do occasionally, but not too much. She likes periodic romance type of movies. I'm more into action, and I've got a penchant for well done superhero movies. I'm a comic book fan from way back. And the big I like to watch, the big event movies sometimes, if they don't snore me to death, like Oppenheimer, just some of the best acting, majestically filmed, and put me to sleep. I'm still trying to get all the way through that film, and it's just one that doesn't do for me, right? So, but thank you so much for your kind words. Oberheim is coming in with a late comment here. He says, as much as I love Pink Floyd, I could go the rest of my life never listening to The Wall and Dark Side of the Moon again. And you know what? That's true for a lot of people, buddy, because it gets overplayed. That's why I made up my mind a long time ago. Uh, Royce and I have talked about this many times. We have a rule with certain songs or albums not to play them or to turn them off when they're on the radio. I have an automatic rule that there's a handful of songs I just will not listen to on the radio. I will not listen to Stairway to the Heaven because it was getting to the point that it was just so overplayed I couldn't listen to it. It spoiled Led Zeppelin 4 for me because when it came in, the potency of the album. So I quit listening to it for almost 10 years and then reset my clock. And I think, it's like anything. Anything in moderation is fine. But when you go over and you just play things to death, you do run the risk of not wanting to hear one more time the Dark Side of the Moon, which has got to be one of the most certainly uh, bigly played albums, not just with the two hits they had there, but a lot of the side tracks and even several songs being played together to give it more of an album feel when the FM stations covered that album. It's hard. It's like Bohemian Rhapsody or Hotel California. It really gets hard to listen to those songs if you listen to them when they come on the radio. Those are two others I'll just click off because I don't want a night at the opera to be ruined for me. Okay, because if that's played, I another one I they don't play it as often as they used to, but man, that's all they played for a long time. I had to quit listening to Killer Queen because it would ruin sheer heart attack for me, right? So, good point. What do you think about DDD, CD recordings? Um, yeah, digital recordings. Is that what you're talking about here? And are you talking about CDs as a format? I'm all for CDs as a format. I had a large collection of CDs. I like digital recording. I'll give you two examples of two classic rock albums that were recorded digitally and at the same time released as digital products. So from the beginning, they recorded it in a digital format. They mixed it in a digital format. They mastered it in a digital format and released it as a digital format. And of course, I'm talking about Dire Straits, Brothers in Arms, and Paul McCartney's Tug of War. And I consider both those albums masterpieces, and they're all digital from the beginning on. You can get a LP of it, but it was digitally recorded. So you're not going to go back and reclaim a warmth in the studio on a lot of those albums because they were recorded with zeros and ones, right? So I'm not against digital recording. This is an old digital recorder. I've told you I've kept it around because I've got a project in there. Plus, I like messing around with older technology. But I bought that when that was the latest thing. I have another one in tandem, and it looks like we have another
Rockin' Robin Bird.
Rockin' Robin Bird. Oh, yeah,
Yes,
say that three times, Kimberly.
Yeah.
Your channel rocks. Love the live. I'll be back. Oh, thank you so much, Rockin' Robin Bird. I love that. Rockin' Robin Bird. Tweet. Okay, I promise I won't sing. But thank you so much. I appreciate it, and please do come back. And you know what? The whole live aspect of this channel was a way of me completing the channel. I always communicated with all of you very much in the comments, and that was a way that I felt that we. But there is a sense of immediacy, and with the experience I gained over on Royce, I felt like no, I want a venue. That's why when I stream, I call it the Tribal Forum. The channel is the bottom line, which is me giving my bottom line. But the Tribal Forum is more connected to the tribal aspect of the channel. And I try to give a broad, uh, let's put it this way. I like to, if you come to my channel page, I want it to be, do you guys, I was talking to you about this before we got on, babe.
Yeah.
Remember those old highlights magazines? Now, we could never afford those when we were kids, right? But they'd be in, mom would go to a dentist appointment and they'd have these for the kids. And you had Doofus, and I forget the other guy's name. And you'd have nice little tales and some kid jokes and some puzzles, right? Kind of a hands-on, and that's how I've developed my channel. On one hand, you can see my pre-recorded videos, which have a little more production value, a better sound quality to them in general. And I attack one thing at a time, a story at a time, an album at a time, right? Or a news item at a time. And that's always been the bread and the potatoes of the channel. But then I started doing shorts, which are shorter segments of like 1 minute of me making a major point in some of my videos. And I know a whole lot of you out there watch just my shorts. I have a whole audience of people who just watch my shorts, and they will be starting up again. Like I said, since late January, I've been reconfiguring the channel to make it exactly what I've always wanted it to be. Then I started adding polls. We ran over a poll I did today, right? And then I would connect my polls to the videos, or videos to my polls, or the shorts to my polls, or the shorts to my videos. See, I wanted it to be very interactive, and the one thing missing was having a live stream. Me talking to you folks in real time. Now you know how I put my videos together. My videos may look a little more polished, but I do it exactly like I do here. And the only difference is if I screw up here, you catch me, right? And when I go, I might be starting to say I'm talking about the Beatles. And when they got to the point of Revolver, Then Doofus, oh no, it wasn't Doofus, it was. And then I remember where I am, and I go. Then when they got to the point of revolt, but it's me in real time. It's just that sometimes I screw up, and that's what you get with my pre-recorded videos. So when you come to the channel, you can go to my polls. You can join the channel where you'll get even more videos that aren't here on the regular channel without missing anything that I've ever offered on the regular channel. All of this is being offered. I do it as a response to you guys supporting me. All right. I want this to be a place where you can go. Yeah, some of you just love my polls. I know some people that I read tonight don't even watch my videos or have given me no reason to feel that they watch my videos, but they like my polls. Just like I got people who will watch nothing but my shorts. Or I have a solid group of people who will just watch what I started off with. Look, I'm not interested in you sharing portions of you on Royce. I'm not sharing of you sharing portions of you on your stream. I just like your preset videos. That's what I'm a fan of, or that's what I've liked. That's why I come and bother you on your channel, or bother to listen to you or watch you on your channel. Those are the ones I like. So I'm bound and determined not to lose those viewers as well. All right. But it means getting more busy. And in order to do that, that gives me less time to support myself financially in the real world. And so I'm trying to do so here. All right. There it is. Plain and simple. And you'll always get the truth from me as I see it. And I promise you one thing, I'm not so stuck up on my ass I can't change my mind. And you guys are fantastic for bringing up what you do. Now, it is 10:30. We started this at 8:30. My wife's going to shoot me because she said no more than 2 hours on this, you know. And we've already got 2.5 hours. We went over 2 hours on the other one, way over, didn't we? Did we clock in at about 2.5 hours on that, Dave? Yeah,
Yes, yes.
boy, because I'm feeling it now. You know, these longer streams. With Royce, we used to go back in the day. We'd get to 2.5 hours, sometimes even bumping on three, until Betty shut that down. She goes, time to close it down, Royce. Because we'd be all hot and bothered about talking, and we'd lose track of the time. Sorry about that, Betty. But for the most part, we've kept it to not no more than 90 minutes. There's been a few flubs where we went short, slightly over that. And Royce shoots to keep it at about an hour. And I've always encouraged him, but be ready to spend another half hour if you get the audience backing you up and, getting in on it, and you see your viewership going up, right? That's not a time to stop it, but at least give it a 90 minutes. But it has to really be rolling for us to hit that 90-minute view over there, right? And so on Sundays, I hit that 1 hour mark. I can't do much more than that unless I was to stream at 4 o'clock. And at this point, I want to keep the Sunday nights focused on my channel and Royce's channel. All right. That's where the two channels meet, is Sunday from 5 to about 7:30, 8 o'clock, with a half hour of time sandwiched in between. All right. But, and once again, I do want to tell everybody, please go on over and sub to Royce. He's not only a good bud of mine, he's a personal friend, right? We've never met each other. We only know each other online. We've never shook each other's hand, but I consider him a good, close personal friend. We do a lot of talking in between our channel business, and we talk about the ups and downs of being a content creator. We commiserate, we plan, we plot. We will rescue classic rock and roll together. All right, folks, it's time to shut down. I am absolutely flabbergasted by the support, the super thanks tonight. I am flabbergasted that I got as many people as I got in on this late stream, because this isn't my time slot usually, right? I think I've gone up to about 7:30. I certainly have never started at 8 p.m. here locally, and whatever time it came off to you in your local time zone. So we're still kind of, we're I'm fine tuning the channel. Like I said earlier, I have kind of an idea because the channel's kind of, especially the tribal forum, is evolved a certain way, and I can almost get my hands on it, right? And I wanted to offer something different, a little bit different, a live response, a one-on-one. I'll get better at getting to more of your comments, but I also don't want to just sit there and read a ton of comments all day and not offer you something other than that. And I always research my videos. I always got I've done, I contemplate my navel and whatever I'm talking about, and I ask myself, do I have an opinion on it? And that's where we go there. Caitlin, thank you so much. She wasn't sure she was going to be able to make it tonight.
Oh,
You did for both streams.
came in.
You are family, darling. All right. And I love you very much, really seriously. And I hope all is going well. She just got off vacation, had a wonderful time, and managed not to. How do you go on vacation and not gain 20 pounds? She didn't. She didn't. Pretty much untouched. Congrats. Really seriously, Caitlin. Thank you to all of you. I'd have to go up and down to name all of you. Storm Cop, James, thank you so much for going the extra distance tonight. I didn't mention Christian tonight, Divining Dragon. I don't know if he's in on this one, but he was earlier, and I didn't get to any of his comments. We've got anything you see, anybody with a wrench here. Are people that I trust and have a lot to do with keeping the conversation flowing as I live stream. And I also I can say is I appreciate each and every one of you. I will reiterate to anyone who is on Royce's channel and a few of you out there that I haven't got, and you know who you are, uh, a uh, a wrench to. In other words, that if I add a wrench, you will be a moderator for the channel. And it's always good to have moderators out there because I go on my tangents, don't I, folks? And there's long times when I'm not there. Uh, and some of my deputies out there know exactly who they're looking for. We don't want any trolling. We don't want anything like that. And I appreciate that. So if you want to see, the only way that I can do that is if I went on my iPad, which I'm using to, uh, uh, stream with right now, and change you on my iPad because my other screen is Kimberly's, and I have to on my account, give you a wrench. So show up about 10 minutes before, make a comment, and if you're one of the people I want to make a moderator for this channel, I'll do it during there. So show up, 10 or 15 minutes. You don't have to stay around. Just show up, make a comment, say, hey, I'll be back when you're on. Give me a thumbs up, please. And then make your comment, and I will knight thee. You shall now Sir Lancelot of rock and roll and all of that nonsense. And that includes you, Caitlin, because I want you as a moderator as well. I trust you, girl. All right. So I say this all the time. I'm talking about a generalized love. All right. So when I say I love each and every one of you, I mean that as much as I can for the little that I know of you. You've been so supportive, and you can't help but be emotionally connected to such people, and I am. And so is Kimberly. She's a big fan of this. She was just going to help me out a couple of times. And now she has actually become the silent voice of the show. And a lot of you are interacting with her, and I'm so appreciative of that. We both are. What's that, baby? She loves it, she says.
I love the conversation.
Yeah? Well, I love you too, babe.
So positive and so cool.
Are you hearing that, folks? Everybody's so positive and so cool. And I'll tell you, my wife suffers no fools. Okay? All right, she may sound sweet, but I married a crocodile. You know? I'm telling you, yeah. For me, it takes a tough woman. Right, Caitlin? Yeah, you got what you needed, Michael. I can just hear her saying it right now. All right. So before Caitlin tells me to take a cookie or eat a cookie, I'm going to go and get off stream now and have some of Mrs. Toad's finest cookies. that I can find, Caitlin.
TJRS says, I'm glad you and I support one another, Michael, and the tribe.
Right.
FTW.
Absolutely, TGR. I appreciate that too. And more kudos to your fine channel. All right. Okay, so that about does it. We're gonna clock in here at about 2.5 hours exactly, and my next stream will be Sunday. I'll spend the next couple of days having to film a couple of videos, and I'll do my best to get to you guys in the comments. All right, so don't be freaked out if I don't get to you right away. Since I started live streaming, it's kind of adjusted how I get back to you, but I usually get back to you before it's done because I'm often like tonight, I'll see comments from the first stream, comments from the second stream, plus I have a video from Royce that's out that I'm still getting comments on, and my latest regular video that I'm still getting comments on. So I can't get to everybody and still make future videos, all right? So bear with me under that. That's why we do this live, so that you know me talking to you right here, right there. That kind of makes up for some of that. Not all of it. I don't want to ever lose commenting to you kind and wonderful folks in the comment section, because that's where the outside world sees what we think. All right, I'm Michael Noland. This has been Tribal Forum. Wasn't the first one number 16? And I guess this would be 17. I hope I'm not misnumbering it. My God, we've done that many already. Absolutely amazing. All right, folks, if I don't see you before in the form of the video, I will see you here on the Tribal Forum at Sunday at 5 p.m. to be followed at 6:30 p.m. on Royce in the House, and I'll be on his panel then. All right, love y'all. Have a great freaking upcoming weekend. And thank you for all of the positive vibes out there. And let me know where I can improve. I'm always listening. All right, folks. We'll see you tonight. We'll see you in my next video. I almost got out of here alive, right? Ah, it's live, baby. It's live. No backing tracks for me. When I mess up, I mess up. Royce, thank you for supporting my channel as always, brother. You know that, right? All you guys coming in. Prayers from Jorge. Deuces Wild. Have a great night, tribe. Everybody saying good night. Thank you, Royce. Deuces Wild. Show up for Royce's Deuce. You were there, I think, last time for sure. All right. You guys are great. I'll see you in my next video.